All right, guys, what is up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And man, oh man, we got a big one today. So get yourselves a bottle of water, a snack, and strap yourselves in because this is a big one because a former Halo dev, specifically a guy who was one of the developers in OG Halo 2 and Halo 3, which to this day are two of the best Halos ever by a vote of the community, is basically trashing modern skill-based matchmaking unlike any other dev that I've seen describe it before. And this is big because we're not just talking about ranked skill-based matchmaking here, but we're talking about pubs, about the social playlist. And he goes in detail. And not only when he mentions modern skill-based matchmaking in these reposts that I put on Twitter that are going to be on the screen, by the way, so that way you guys can see along with me as I describe them. It basically really gets put to a way that we haven't quite heard before, but at the same time, we, the players, are thinking this. Like, for instance, do you feel like you're disrespected by the current skill-based matchmaking algorithm, whether it's in Halo or whether it's in COD, as far as pubs are concerned? If the answer is yes, or if you feel somewhat in that sort of way, then this video is definitely for you. As a matter of fact, this video is for the entirety of the community because back in the day when they had the system that they had, nobody ever had a problem with it. And as a matter of fact, the big conversation was this guy started posting things on Twitter because he saw that it can't work today, into which he disagrees, and he gets into it. So let's get right into it because this is going to be a longer video than usual. So we're going to start at the very first tweet and work our way up. So we're going to start from number 1 and to number 11. I believe there's 11 reposts that I did, and I'm glad that I saw this one I did when I was at work because, oh man, this is a doozy. We definitely got to talk about this. So let's get right into it. So the first tweet says, I see mention of the skill-based matchmaking component I designed for Halo 2 and 3 on this site every so often. It's usually mentioned reverently, but then an outlier jumps in to claim that, quote unquote, it can't work today. I disagree. And then he goes on to say, what I implemented cleanly divided this space into ranked and unranked matchmaking playlists. Ranked filtered opponents based on level. This was for when you wanted a competitive match. But even then, I intentionally allowed variability in the range of levels that we matched you with. And then next up, he continued on by saying, this variability was topic of hot debate internally during development 20 years ago. Obviously, no one wants to get stomped continuously. On the flip side, it gets dull for most people, continuously stomping others. However, it is fun having the upper hand some of the time. By intentionally allowing a range of skills to match together, we provided 3 experiences in ranked matchmaking. The first one was an easier one to where you can kick butt, then a harder one to where you're likely outmatched, and then an evenly matched one. My theory was that a good mix of these 3 was ideal. And first of all, I have to say, before carrying on and continuing up to show what this man had to say, I completely agree. This is something that everybody who has ever made a video talking about skill-based matchmaking and what they don't like about it and blah, blah, blah. This basically right there says, from the words of a developer, the exact same thing that we've been saying. We want a balanced experience to where in your average lobby, you're having like, you know, your below average players, your above average players, and then you're in the middles, right? That is the best experience. But anyway, let's continue on to what he had to say. He continues on by saying, why not always evenly match people though? My reasoning was that these are actually the most stressful matches of the set. Sure, they're the most fun to watch for spectators. Games come down to the wire. That's because the team that wins is the team that outperforms expectations. The failure of modern skill-based matchmaking, in my honest opinion, is that it's designed to maximize these perfect match scenarios and minimize the others. When it's working, a majority of the games become super tight and super stressful. That's not fun for most players. Where's the variability? Again, he's he's dropping bombs over here. He's hitting the nail right on the head. Let's continue on to what he had to say, continuing on. The system that I designed for ranked playlists to assure a healthy mix. Sure, it sucks watching your favorite team get their butt kicked, but it comes full circle when they're the ones kicking butt. Throw in tight, evenly matched games every so often, and that's a ton of fun. I haven't even gotten to unranked playlists yet. I designed these to not factor in skill/level in search for opponents. Yes, our engineers utilized the same code base and kept skill/level as a search criteria, but we substantially deprioritized it in matchmaking. So before I continue on, I just want to say, like, basically what he's telling you is basically ping is king, right? So they're not factoring in the skill levels, but the engineers utilized the same code base and kept skill and level as a search criteria, but it wasn't the primary factor. In other words, what he was trying to say is ping is king, best connection first. All right, and let's go on from there. He also continues on to say, we also didn't track skill/level globally, only per playlist. The net result was that unranked matchmaking allowed a very wide range of skill levels to match together for what everyone agreed was casual, inconsequential fun. Again, that's the way it should be, in my opinion. I wholeheartedly agree. And he continues, he says, since the natural skill level distribution of players follows a bell curve, which is by what when Mark Rubin described skill-based matchmaking, by the way, he basically described it as such, as a bell curve, for those of you guys that remember Mark Rubin's talk about the skill-based matchmaking and describing it in his big article that he wrote over on Twitter that we found. But anyway, so since the natural skill level distribution of players follows a bell curve, there are outliers, inherent low skill and high skill players. Characterizing the high skill ones as the sweaty teens hopped up on Monster Energy is really disrespectful. So again, he's dropping bombs again. So all of a sudden, characterizing the high skill players, and as the sweaty teens hopped up on Monster Energy, really disrespectful. Like, even if you look at my, some of my pub gameplays, especially the ones that I had in the past, it would look like that I'm sweaty and hopped up on Jeep Fuel, but neither is true. Not really sweaty, and certainly not Monster Energy. As a matter of fact, fun fact, I've not had caffeine since age 27, and I am now 39. Now, let's continue on. He continues to say, segregating high skill players from a population at large, forcing long wait times on them, is a form of discrimination. Boom! I love it. Designers should strive to find a way that players of all skill levels can have fun together. Casual, inconsequential, unranked matchmaking is one way. And next up, he says, and this is the last one, he says, I dabbed with handicap settings and asymmetric game mode design as others. Game devs shouldn't take the easy way out and default to segregation, though there's far more that can be done. Derogatory views like this among game devs is a cop-out and a disservice to players. Holy shit, man. See, this also goes to show you that it's not just the publishers that think this way, it's the devs as well. The first one that comes to mind off the top of my head, seemingly so, is Joe Secott or however he's called, the guy that, the head of Infinity Ward, the guy that Blame Truth has suplexed in God knows so many times now verbally on one of his videos. But you guys get to see this here, like, for good players. We've been feeling disrespected greatly over the last handful of years, especially. And the way this former Halo developer described it is literally perfect. And the fact that he's even calling out devs and is basically telling them, like, hey, don't take the easy way out. There's another way to do this. And as a matter of fact, why did we try to fix something that wasn't broken in the first place? When you look at OG Halo 2 and Halo 3, like both ranked and unranked, nobody had a problem with the matchmaking, whether you were a noob or not. Nobody did. As a matter of fact, there are many players, both casual and non-casual alike, that have called for that system to make a return. And I've even seen pro players on Twitter and in their streams say that sometimes they'll go into social and they will find matches that are even sweatier than their ranked matches, which is insane because these guys are high-level Onyx players, right? But they're the best of the best, they're the top 1%. I've seen them easily, casually wipe the floor in one-on-ones with other Onyx players, but obviously when you play on teams, it's a whole other thing, and I totally get it. They obviously stand out among Onyx players in team-based regular ranked matches as well, obviously, but you get the point here. Like, these guys are the top of the food chain, and when you got the top of the food chain, and I've seen COD players, including Parasite, I went to Parasite's stream and I asked him a question, and he answered, and I wish I was recording it so I can show it to you guys. But one thing I can tell you is one of the things that he wanted, I'm like, if there's anything you could change about this game, what would that be? And one of the things that he said was for them to tone the skill-based matchmaking down. And this comes from a former Call of Duty champion. Okay, well, yeah, he's retired now, to my knowledge, but he's a world Call of Duty champion. As a matter of fact, he won COD Champs in Black Ops 2, which is one of the best Call of Duty games ever made. Simple as that. So when a pro says those words, that means something. It's heavier. It's heavier than anything that I could say or that your average player could say and such, because this guy is among the top 1%. This guy can see things in game that we can't or don't understand. He's a competitive player. He's top 1% player, and he did it for a long time, and he won the world freaking championship. He knows what he's talking about. If a pro, unless they're being a shill, if a pro is talking about something when it comes to COD in terms of what needs to change or whatnot, as well as Halo, you know, if they're not shills and they're legitimately talking from the pit of their core, let me tell you something. Like there's some truth to that. If I was a dev, I would shut the fuck up and listen. As a matter of fact, as a non-dev and as a person who's just been playing first-person shooters for over a decade and has played a lot of COD, has played a lot of Halo and some other games in between, if a pro has something to say, even if they're playing a game that I'm not playing, I'm gonna shut up and listen. If someone who is higher skilled than me has something to say, I'm gonna listen. You know, I could choose what to, you know, take to heart or not, but for the most part, if this person is legit like a pro player, I'm gonna listen. So, and again, and these are the words of a former developer, and this was a fresh breath of air to see, and it really gave us a little bit of insight in terms of how they used to develop the matchmaking back then, in terms of how they prioritized ranked versus unranked and the 1 through 50 system and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's like, even with the 1 through 50 system, it was like, okay, you had 3 layers to that. Basically, it was like, okay, you'd have sometimes you'd have people that you'd be going up against that are the same level as you, but they're not as good, they're low tier, and then you'll have someone that are higher tier, and then you'll have somewhere that are in the middle. And it would be a mixed bag in terms of which you would get, which is perfect. And even in pubs, this would be something that's good. But obviously, as you saw from these tweets, in pubs, they prioritized it completely different, to where it was ping was king, and then they took a percentage of the whole skill / progression system or whatever it was, and put that into the mix. However, it was ping was king. So to me, that almost sounds like team balancing, but maybe so, maybe not really. To where maybe it was like 80 or 90% ping is king, and then when the game was searching, it was also searching for people that were not complete bots and stuff like that, to ensure that whatever lobby and whatever team you were on, whether there was skill balancing or not, it would be a mixed experience. So why fix something that's not broken? And of course, the answer is, of course, that they believe that they're going to keep players around that way for longer, so that way they can make money off of the microtransaction system and the battle pass and all these different bundles that they have and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's obviously not good for the long run, right? It's going to make you money, but it's not going to be good for the long run. And again, this is another reason why I have so much respect for XDefiant, because XDefiant is going to do this. Now, I don't care that XDefiant is going to have a team balancing system similar to what we had in Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3, okay? Back during Black Ops 3, obviously, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. 402 Thunder basically went and played free-for-all because he couldn't stand losing and trying to carry teams to victory in a team deathmatch. Totally understand what he means and stuff like that, but I think we can say that it is by far the lesser of two evils, way less, much less evil, right? To have to try to carry a team of bots while you're playing, you know, those average or slightly below average or slightly above average people on the other team. That system overall is better. And let's not forget that that system could even be tweaked. So in other words, what I mean in terms of XDefiant is they can tweak it to where it won't be quite as brutal as it was in Black Ops 4. It could be a little bit more lenient, to where you, the good player, could actually have 1 or 2 good players on your team that are at least average, right? Not complete bots that are going 3 and 15, so to speak, right? But at the same time, I think I speak for the majority of us to where it's like, I'd rather deal with that rather than what we're currently getting. I dealt with it a lot in Black Ops 4. I dealt with it in Black Ops 3. How else do you think I managed to go 75-9 live, by the way, in Black Ops 3? And let me know down in the comment section if you guys want to see that gameplay. I've already posted. Just look it up. The Jack of all trades 70 or whatnot. Okay, the Scum 70 kill challenge. You'll see 2 or 3 videos about it, and you'll see the footage. I don't really need to repost it. I've already done it like 2 or 3 times already. But with that being said, guys, I'm getting close to the end over here in terms of the time that I have. So with that being said, I want to know what you guys think of this. Do you believe that this was described perfectly? And overall, just your overall thoughts. And again, you know, let that X-Defiant hype continue to come in. I know it's a quiet time right now. I know that some of the hype has died down. I know a lot of it has died down, but I also do know and have faith that because of what X-Defiant's trying to do, that it will succeed. So anyway, with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.